Welcome to my platform. This is another piece in the prophetic, and the title is Increasing Your Prophetic Accuracy. Somebody may ask, is it possible to increase your accuracy as a prophet or one who prophesies? Can one consciously engage themselves in the business of pursuing to have their prophecy come up or roll out with greater accuracy daily? The answer is yes. Increasing your accuracy is possible. The fact is that there are, however, secrets you need to know, or some rudiments about the prophetic that you need to know, that places you in a better position to participate in increasing your accuracy as a prophet. Accuracy is a core issue in the prophetic. It is accuracy that makes room for forensic prophesying. The quest for accuracy in the mind of any prophet leads to you being able to pick prophecies that roll out with the finest details that one can imagine. So, accuracy is an issue of concern in the prophetic. In fact, if we are not targeting accuracy, then there's no reason for why you should be called a prophet, because when God speaks and through you, it is expected that you give out exactly what God is saying. And if that is achieved, then you are accurate. Then when we come to talk about fine details surrounding the prophecy that may not be accessible in the physical realm, but that you have to browse or Google in the realm of the spirit to come by or come about these details and are able to relay them as presented by God or as the need will be granted your office as a prophet doing your job, which is to unravel enigma or the mind of God or the concern of the people, being one in the prophetic office. Accuracy is the hallmark of the thing here. There are three factors that I want to point out to. First of all, then giving you some scriptural strategies in the end that guides you as you travel the path of increasing your accuracy as a prophet. What kind of a prophet are you? Broken into three. One, prophets were good with prophecies from the past. There are several occasions you see in the scripture that prophets will come up and tell us things that had happened in the past. Mind you, in part, not every one of them had the access to scripture or the history of their time. So some of the things they spoke of and were accurate about and in the past were things that prophetically they managed to come by. When they said then, David was a man after God's heart, and he served as God's reference or plumb line for the kings of Israel and Judah down through the generations. There was no scripture that they could refer to as I've got scripture to refer to today. They managed to tap the mind of God and then disclose them. It's very obvious that when God calls you into the prophetic, you can be in the primary position to be good with prophecies in the past, whether you are prophet or kingly or priestly, are choosing or called prophets. It doesn't matter. Picking things in the past, engaging the word of knowledge, then the prophetic acumen required for you to be smart with regards to picking things in the past and be accurate. Some prophets are better here, and there is a secret to how you can increase your accuracy with this regard. Let us pick Daniel, for instance. He said, I understood by books. I understood from the book of the prophet the years that God had specified that they will go through in the course of the desolation of the land of Judah as a result of the abomination that their fathers committed. Reading through the entire scripture over and over, or Bible, over and over, I discovered that being buried or submerged into scripture or prophecies of the prophets of old gives you an impartation or transfer of grace or endowment that places you in the position to be smarter on a daily basis with prophecies of things that had happened in the past. So that when you come by people and you're going to prophesy to them, you discover that accuracy is increasing. There is a concern of the technicality involved with going through the work of the prophets of old, particularly the major prophets, in terms of what it takes to be good with doing the prophetic, narrating with accuracy and in an increasing order by the day as you prophesy about things in the past. This is where many miss it because not everyone knows what exactly is involved in being able to handle prophecy with or as a result of an encounter, let me put it that way, with a prophet in the pages of their work in the Bible. The first thing is I should be able to see what the prophet is saying or what the prophet is narrating. By so doing, taking off my eyes from the Bible, when I look at you, I'll be able to see the narration of the issues around your past. Same way, I saw the prophet talking to me, and I was able to see everything that he was talking about as if I was there when that event or incident took place in the past. So that's the secret. The more you go back to the prophets and read the writings, the more accurate you tend to be. Number two, a factor that influences your ability to increase your prophetic accuracy with reference to what kind of a prophet you are is being good with prophecies of the present. There are prophets that are basically a paradigm when it comes to prophesying about now. Take them to prophesying of things in the past, they ain't good. Ask them to prophesy of things in the future, they can't. But things that are almost coming to happen, which probably can be referred to as present issues. What you're thinking right now, what you're about to do before you are meeting me right now. They are very good with this. Unless they know who they are in terms of prophecy and dwell in their lane, and if there is the need to advance, study the precepts scriptural that make allowance for one to be able to cross over from this lane to that lane, not minding the facts that we've got prophetic codes and codes and prophetic senses. God can decide to, granted your exposure before you came into the prophetic in full, allow you to be good with prophecies about now. When you ask people who dwell in this lane, they will tell you, when it comes to prophesying about things that are of the now, I'm good. Not the future, I don't have the grace. Because the issue is that both the future and the past requires that you have a zoom lens where you can draw things this close enough to peek in the realm of the spirit, find details that may not be otherwise accessed or that are not visible when you look at the past in terms of a gross view, a gross cross section of the prophetic. So, prophets that are good with prophecies about now are mostly prophets that have got excellence with mind work. That's to say that in addition to studying the scripture and meditating on the scripture, they are able to dwell on issues of the now in terms of a strong mind work, the point where they go through what we call Rayon in Hebrew. David, the king of Israel, was a man like that. he too had that preeminence in terms of being prophetic and hence being able to peek inside the immediates, whether in terms of battle or administrative issues, at least for up to 80 to 95% of his outings were prophetically inclined. Then we talk about the third category of prophets that are prophets that are good with prophecies about the future. Such prophets are prophets. When you go into the scripture, you discover that these ones are good with encounters, angelic encounters, encounters of God. I mean, visions upon visions and visions. It's also very good to point out to you at this point that not all prophets are good when it comes to coming into visions. Of course, we prophesy about visions. But when you look or talk about prophets that are good at predicting things into the future or prophesying of things that are about to happen in the future time, they are prophets that are good with all kinds of visions, and their visions are always rare and elaborate. The thing about them is whatever positions them to plunge into visions equally enhance their accuracy with reference to what they prophesy about in the future. So if I want to increase how I prophesy about the future, then I must pursue to have more visions and elaborate visions for that. When it comes to vision, coming back from an encounter in a vision that is elaborate, the same realm where you entered to catch the vision, the moment you take off your eyes from that vision or mind from that vision and you are focused at Mr. Johnson standing in front of you, he becomes a literal world of vision, and everything about him forms a part of your prophecy in the process. Not necessarily God giving you a word about Johnson here, but that he placed in you the ability to look at John or Johnson and see through, place him in a vision world where as an imaginary, but which is a true picture of a past, or now that we're talking about the future. You're seeing everything that Johnson is going to be or do or access or achieve or accomplish in the future. In the first place, as a prophetic fellow, it's wise that you cross-examine yourself whether you are good in the three categories of prophets or you're just one of them or two of them before we talk about increasing your accuracy when you represent God as you prophesy to his people.